In 1971, before the Emmy, before Taxi, before Twins, before The Penguin, Danny DeVito was just a young actor on a small New York stage. That night, one woman in the audience saw something in him that Hollywood had not yet understood. More than 50 years later, after marriage, children, fame, separation, fans keep asking the same question: who was the woman who never really left his life? To answer that, we have to go back to the Danny DeVito people first fell in love with. For many viewers, Danny entered the family room through Taxi, the yellow cab crossing the Queensboro Bridge, the gentle theme music, the worn-down garage, and that unforgettable dispatcher behind the cage all became part of American television memory. Danny played Louis De Palma as a man who was loud, petty, impossible, and somehow hilarious every time he appeared. Louis should have been the kind of character people rejected, but Danny gave him such fearless comic life that audiences waited for him. He did not try to become charming in the usual Hollywood way. He became unforgettable in his own way. That was the beginning of why people admired him. He was not the tall leading man. He was not the polished romantic hero. He was something rarer. He was proof that presence can be bigger than image, and talent can walk into a room before anyone knows what to call it. Taxi gave him national fame, major awards, and a place in the memory of viewers who still remember watching the show with family, roommates, or friends. Some fans remember Louis' insults. Some remember the garage. Some remember laughing at a character they knew they probably should not like. That was Danny's strange magic. But while America was discovering Danny DeVito, one woman had already seen him long before the rest of the country caught up. She had gone to watch a friend perform in an off-Broadway play called The Shrinking Bride. Danny was also in the cast. He was not playing to a huge crowd, and he was not yet the famous face people would later recognize from television and film. But on that stage, he had energy, rhythm, and confidence that could not be ignored. She was drawn to him immediately. She did not choose him because he was already a star. She chose him when the future was still uncertain, when the work was still hard, and when fame had not yet arrived to make the story look obvious. That woman was Rhea Perlman. And once her name enters the story, everything changes. Rhea was never just the woman beside Danny. She became one of the great sitcom actresses of her generation. To millions of viewers, she was Carla Tortelli from Cheers, the sharp-tongued waitress with the quick comeback, the rough edge, and the working-class toughness that made her feel real. Carla could cut through a room with one line, but Rhea always made sure there was a human being underneath the sarcasm. Across the long run of Cheers, she became one of the most familiar faces on American television and won 4 Emmy Awards for the role. That is what makes this love story so rare. Danny had Taxi, Rhea had Cheers. They were not one star and one shadow. They were 2 performers building separate legacies while sharing one life behind the scenes. They moved in together only weeks after meeting. They spent more than a decade together before marrying in 1982. They built a family, raised 3 children, and kept working through an era when television could still gather people in the same room at the same hour. For viewers who grew up with those shows, their story carries the feeling of another time. It brings back the sound of sitcom laughter, the glow of an old television set, and the simple comfort of seeing familiar faces return every week. If you first remember Danny from Taxi or Rhea from Cheers, tell us in the comments which show brings back the strongest memory. Sometimes a single character can bring back the whole room we watched it in. Their bond reached another generation in 1996 through Matilda. On screen, Danny and Rhea played Harry and Zinnia Wormwood, parents so selfish and ridiculous that children everywhere instantly understood why Matilda needed someone kinder in her life. The comedy was big, loud, and unforgettable. Behind the camera, the story was very different. Mara Wilson, the young actress who played Matilda, was going through a painful time while the film was being made. Her mother was seriously ill, and Danny and Rhea quietly became a source of warmth and protection for her. They helped make the set feel safer. They gave her kindness without turning it into a public performance. One story from that time still moves fans deeply. Danny arranged for Mara's mother to see an early version of Matilda before the film was finished. It was not a headline moment, and it was not done for attention. It was the kind of gesture that reveals character when nobody is asking for applause. That is why so many fans speak about Danny with affection that goes beyond the roles. They love the actor, but they also admire the man who seems to have carried humor, generosity, and loyalty into real life. His career kept expanding in ways few performers ever manage. Michael Douglas, his longtime friend and former roommate, helped open an important door with One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Later, Danny appeared in Romancing the Stone, The War of the Roses, and Twins, where his contrast with Arnold Schwarzenegger created one of the most memorable comedy pairings of the 1980s. Then, Batman Returns gave him one of his darkest and strangest roles as Oswald Cobblepot, the Penguin. The performance was disturbing, theatrical, and impossible to forget, proving once again that Danny DeVito never needed to fit Hollywood's ordinary mold to dominate the screen. Behind the scenes, he also helped shape major films through Jersey Films, connected with projects like Pulp Fiction, Aaron Brockovich, Garden State, and Matilda. He was not only the man in front of the camera, he was also one of the people helping stories find their way to the audience. But the most human chapter of his life was not written on a movie poster. It came after decades together, when the love story stopped looking simple. After more than 30 years of marriage and more than 40 years together, Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman separated in 2012. They later came back together for a time and then separated again in 2017. For many couples, that would have been the final line. For Danny and Rhea, it became something harder to define and more interesting to understand. They never divorced. They remained family. They stayed close. They continued to share children, grandchildren, memories, and a history that could not be reduced to a legal ending. That is the part of their story that makes people pause. Most celebrity romances are sold as either perfect love or total collapse. Danny and Rhea's story is different because it feels more like real life. Their relationship changed, their homes changed, their daily rhythm changed. But the respect did not disappear, and the family they built did not fall apart. By a certain age, many viewers understand that kind of love more deeply. Life teaches people that not every lasting bond looks the way it did at the beginning. Some love stories survive by becoming quieter. Some survive by giving each other space. Some survive because two people decide that history, family, and tenderness are worth protecting, even when the marriage no longer looks traditional from the outside. That is why this story feels less like gossip and more like a lesson. Danny and Rhea began when there was no empire, no grand Hollywood certainty, and no guarantee that either of them would become a household name. They grew through struggle, fame, parenting, creative work, public attention, separation, and age. Somehow, after all of that, they still remained connected. There is something admirable about that. It is easy to stay when life is young and simple. It is harder to stay kind when the years have changed everything. It is harder to honor the person who knew you before the applause, before the money, before the world had an opinion about who you were supposed to be. Rhea saw Danny in a small theater before he became Louis De Palma, before he became the Penguin, before children knew him from Matilda, and before younger fans knew him from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. She saw the performer, the spark, the force of personality, and the man underneath. And Danny, across all these decades, kept her as part of his life. Their 3 children, Lucy, Grace, and Jake, became part of a family story that did not end simply because the marriage changed form. Their creative lives continued to overlap, and their family continued to grow. That is the quiet evidence that this bond was never only about romance. It was about roots. So maybe the lesson of Danny DeVito and Rhea Perlman is not that love must always stay the same. Maybe the lesson is that some love becomes deeper when it stops trying to impress the world. It becomes family, it becomes a memory, it becomes the person who still knows where you began. At 81, Danny DeVito is remembered for many things. Louis from Taxi, Vincent from Twins, the Penguin from Batman Returns, Harry Wormwood from Matilda, and Frank Reynolds for A New Generation. But behind those characters is a quieter story about the woman who saw him before the world applauded, and the bond that remained after life became complicated. Time changed the shape of their love, but it did not erase the history. And for many fans, that is what makes it worth admiring. If this story brought back a memory, tell us where you first saw Danny DeVito, Taxi, Twins, Batman Returns, Matilda, or another favorite role. And tell us what you think about Danny and Rhea's bond, a love that changed with time, but never fully disappeared. For more classic movie stars, unforgettable TV faces, and stories that bring back the feeling of another time, visit our channel and keep the memories alive.